My name's Chris, and I want to give you a 15-minute crash course in raising money. For those of you who are like, who the is this guy? It's nice to meet you. I'm a startup guy. I love building companies. I know that's really weird because it's really painful. I've raised just shy of $40 million across 17 fundraisers, sailing around Antarctica on my chocolate yacht, drinking a pina colada in my pants. And there are certain things that continue to be true today that were true right at the start. The thing I learned really, really early on is that fundraising is a human endeavor. It's not a business endeavor. Fundraising is essentially the art of having someone buy into becoming an owner in it. The most important skill in any human endeavor is understanding, in my opinion, behavioral psychology, which is just something I happen to have studied for a very long time. So I see behavioral psychology as the programming language of relationships, just like Java or C or whatever it may be is the programming language of machines. So if you want to create software in the form of a relationship, you need to know the basics of behavioral psychology. My understanding of that has always helped me develop my own tools and techniques for raising investment that so far, touch wood, yep, there's some wood there, continues to this day. There's 5 areas I'm going to go through in the next 15 minutes. I'm going to go through them very quickly. I will make separate videos to go through some of these things in more detail. I just haven't made them yet. Well, I need to know if you want them. I've got a chocolate yacht to build. So if there are any specific things you want me to dive into and create videos of, please leave a comment and I will consider making that video for you. The first thing that has consistently been true is something I call the science of the first impression. This is a very classic thing in psychology, that when two humans come together for the very first time, particularly under the burden of expectation. So you meet someone with an expectation to have a good encounter. Your fight or flight response is heightened. And what that essentially means is that the more what we call fast brain tries to evaluate 2 core things about the first encounter, particularly if that encounter has high stakes attached to it. Every human does it, you can't stop it. Firstly, whether that person is a threat to you. Is that person warm? Others will say, are they a threat? But it's the same thing. Does this person at first impression give my fast brain a reason to get the hell out of there? Am I at risk? Am I at threat? And it will do that in the first 2 minutes. And the second thing that starts to happen after about the first minute is your brain tries to understand whether or not that person is full of shit. It's about confidence. The confidence you have in someone's truth-telling. It's the same as saying, will I gain something from this? Because if I believe what they're about to say, I will lean into it, engage more, understand more, try and see all the angles, try and see from perspective. But if your fast brain creates a fight and flight response and makes you believe the other person is full of shit, you'd lost it there. It's so hard coming back from that. So understanding that first impression in the first 2 to 5 minutes of any conversation will dramatically improve the odds that that encounter will lead to future collaboration. Look into the science of first impressions for you to develop a warm and credible persona in the first interaction. Now, the next thing is something I call the burden of proof. Now, burden of proof in fundraising terms means what evidence am I choosing to anchor confidence on that I am good at what I claim to be good at? And that is founding a company, by the way. So what a lot of people tend to do in the early fundraisers, they will say something like, yeah, I've got 5,000 users, I've got 200 customers, generated about $1,000 in revenue, I'm speaking to about 20 partners, and there's like these amazing people that want to join the team. Feels like a natural thing to talk about. You think that builds confidence, you think that's exciting. 5 points of confidence you've just introduced into the equation without it being asked for. Stop it! Now, the burden of proof is trying to filter down to only 1 or 2 things that demonstrate you are at the stage that you are at. So if you're in a seed round, for example, you care about demonstrating people are using something and that they come back to use it again. Everything else is a distraction. Okay, if you're in product market fit stage, you want to show I have customers and they are paying more than once. Personally, my personal opinion, if you have a pitch deck, you don't have a startup, you have a concept. And if you have an MVP, you don't have a company, you have a project, right? But picking your burden of proof is one of the most important things because it guides and anchors somebody's belief that you know how to build a company or that you are learning how to build a company well. Picking the burden of proof that demonstrates you have a great concept or a great project, and then in the next round, a great startup, will help you anchor the confidence around something I can demonstrate improves reliably over time. So keep the burden of proof relevant to the stage that you are at. Okay? Now, sometimes people will solicit certain things. So, for example, somebody says, okay, that's great. You've got 10,000 users and 25% keep coming back. Great stat, by the way. They might say, but what about revenue? Now, this is where understanding the stage of where you are at in the classic journey of a startup. Not every startup follows the same journey, but they mostly do. Understanding, for example, if you're talking about users and the numbers that come back and somebody starts asking about revenue and you tactically haven't really focused on revenue, or you did try, but you didn't really generate much, then a response isn't, oh yeah, I got $1,000. Because as an investor, I'll start going, okay, come back to me when you've got 20,000. Because I've now introduced a new burden of proof. The response is, frankly, it doesn't matter how much money we make. If the thing we've built is shit, eventually people will stop paying. So all of my focus is on making sure that the thing really works and that people keep coming back for it. If I make something valuable enough to come back for, it's a pretty safe assumption I can make something valuable enough to pay for. I haven't turned on the paywall yet because I don't want to take this part of the experiment out of the current stage. So I'm raising money to take it out of the current stage to give us some flexibility if it all goes horribly, horribly wrong. Because let's face it, we're going to have to learn some stuff when we turn on the paywall. And that's why I want a smart investor who understands the stage. Blah, 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 blah. So that's the burden of proof. The next thing that's really important, in my opinion, this is just my opinion, others might tell you something else. I call it all you need is money. Now, so many people come to me when I did do some investing, I don't anymore, thank you COVID, they would often talk about what they will do with the money. Once I get money, I will do blah. And as an investor, I'm like, wait a second. If I give you money, it's not a deposit on something that might exist. I'm buying something that does exist. So you need to be talking in the language of, I have done it, and now I'm taking it to another stage. And the only way I can take it to the other stage is by hiring these 5 people or by doing this thing where you and I agree the only thing I need is money. It's all too easy to understand all of the little tactics and tricks you can use to test your hypotheses without spending anything. You know, for example, if you've got an artificial intelligence app, then make the front of it, but behind the scenes, it's just you and your mate desperately figuring it out. Send them the results. And by the way, that's exactly what Expensify did, a $4.5 billion company, when it began. You essentially try and find ways to demonstrate that you have the evidence people want what it is that you're making. And that's, again, depends upon the stage that you're in. So all you need is money is literally, I have 10 customers waiting for this product, or I have 10 people that come and join the team, but they're not startup people. They'll work at Google, Microsoft, whatever. And the only way they're going to come to my team is if I pay them. Like that's just who these humans are. And you're saying I have achieved blah. I want to take it up a notch. The only way I can take it up a notch is with money. But if I even get the whiff that you just want a break or a holiday, or wouldn't it be nice if I got paid a real wage? Any of those kind of things, I will immediately say, you don't need money. You need to change your lifestyle or the way you go about doing what you're currently doing today. And once I know you've exhausted all non-monetary options and got the evidence to suggest you're a great company builder, then I can believe all you need is money. Hopefully that makes sense. The fourth topic is around valuation, like all that crap. And I know it's going to piss a few people off, particularly those who make money out of this thing. Predicting the value of a company is nothing but witchcraft. It's complete bullshit. In my opinion, if anybody's trying to sell you a service to value your startup, go away. The truth is, from a founder's point of view, you are selling equity. And so therefore that equity has a value to you, and you will decide how much it's worth and how much it's not. So that's a really important thing to keep in mind. But from the investor's point of view, they are the buyer. And as a buyer, they are anchored around certain prices. So valuing a fundraise is this careful tug of war between knowing I'm going to have to sell more between now and when I exit this thing. I need to schedule those sales. When am I going to make the thing valuable? Is it after fundraise 2? Is it after fundraise 8? Commercially valuable to own that equity. And so that's my pull. Hey, look, I'm only prepared to sell 10% right now because I know I'm going to need to do another 10, 20, 30 fundraisers, And the buyer's like, well, I want to own at least 10%, and I can't afford more than this to own 10% in a company at your stage. And so this natural push and pull defines whether or not a deal can be done. Valuations are not based on any real science. It's sometimes based upon what's normal in the market, but that's just anchoring. What really matters is you as a founder saying, I'm prepared to sell this amount because I know I'm going to have to sell more later on. And that investor appreciating that, and you mutually come to a price. If anybody says, what are the terms? I will always turn around and say, look, what do you think is reasonable? I'll get them to put their position. I will turn around and say, look, I'm looking to sell probably no more than 10 to 15% of this company, depending upon the added value the investors bring in. I'll be comfortable with 10, but I'll be uncomfortable anything over 15. It sounds like we're a little bit far off, but if I can get others to respect this range that I'm interested in and they're talented investors, can I come back to you and would you consider it? So valuation, it's not based on some science, it's not based on some accelerator, it's not based on whatever. It's just all bullshit. It is based on nothing more than your willingness to sell equity over time and what the value of that investor can bring to make them worth you paying a higher price in equity for them paying a lower price in cash. Hopefully that makes sense. The very last kind of psychologically rooted lesson I want to share with you, and of course there are more, I've chosen 5 because everybody picks 5. Anyway, the last psychologically rooted thing I believe every founder needs to understand is that you don't pitch everyone. And there's this temptation to say, can you introduce me to 3 investors? Can you introduce me to 10? Do you have this list of investors I can just email? Now, you'll get a lot of advice, because I've had a lot of this advice, and I've learned to kind of, well, not ignore it, I respect it, but I don't often follow it. You get a lot of advice for people saying, yeah, every time you speak to somebody, ask them to introduce you to 5 more people. I will say, only do that if A, you liked them, and B, you want people like their money. Don't just introduce me to anyone and everyone. This is the reason why. Just like customer profiling, you have investor profiling, right? Some profiling is more accurate than others. And I have my own profiling methodology, which I use, and it works well for me. I will not claim that it's the most academically robust, but I tend to put potential investors into one of 12 groups. Is this investor a professional investor for the purposes of making money? Are they an unprofessional investor? They invest for fun or some other reason. Are they experienced in the startup journey, or have they been close enough to it that you and they can bond over the journey? Or are they not experienced in that journey, which means you couldn't bond at all over those shared experiences because they don't care about those shared experiences. That's one set of axes. That's 4 different character types. And then there's the motivation types of, are they motivated by exiting the business? Like, do they want to own a piece of the company so that one day in the next 5, 10, 15 years, it will sell? Or are they motivated by owning it for a very, very long time? It's the profit that pulls out the money. Or are they motivated simply because of the lifestyle of investing specifically in you? For example, if you're surrounded by really famous people, they might invest to have access to that network. They may still be professional because they're using this as a means to get better deal flow elsewhere. It could be unprofessional, so it could just be pure fun. So we've got 12 different variations. So 3 motivation types and 4 character types. So there are 12 different personas. Each one of those personas speaks a different language and you bond with them in a slightly different way. You're going to bond very differently to a banker than you are to a former founder, but both might be able to write you a 100K check. It's understanding that persona, that profile, that will help you have a successful conversation. In my career, in my 13 years of raising money, no one's ever told me that. No one's ever said, maybe you should think about making a good first impression and choosing the right conversation based upon their character type and how they're motivated. Making sure that you have the right burden of proof. Don't create too much evidence in too many places because then all of them need to be good. Just make sure that really the only thing you need is money. I mean, be absolutely convincing. If you can think of a way of doing it without money, do it without money first. And make sure you're comfortable with how much equity you need to sell now, being aware you're probably going to sell more equity further down the line. I never got that advice, and I bloody hell wish someone did with me when I began. But those things are all rooted in psychology, or they're rooted in psychological principles to allow for a strong relationship, because fundraising is a relationship business. So that's my little mini crash course. I hope from here you might have some questions, and if you do, please put questions in, and it will inspire me to make videos that might address your questions, or I'll just respond back to you. If I can be helpful, just send me a message.